Okay, so I think we're going to get ready to get started. We're running just a little bit behind. I don't know if Commissioner Teal is going to take it online or going to come downstairs, but he might be down here a little sooner than later. But we can still move forward a little bit. So first thing we want to be able to do here is get a call to order and kick off our meeting here at about 3:33. So call to order. If we would go ahead and James, just start introducing yourself and go around the board.
This is James Eklund.
Sorry. Don Langley.
Evan Ela.
Frank Johns.
Chris Pratt.
Lauren Pulver.
Terrence Quinn.
Jack Hilbert.
Roger Hudson.
Jim Morris.
Clark Hamelman.
I'm sorry.
Tricia Bernhardt. We're good.
Okay, I think we are here. We definitely, even though we don't have any full regulatory type voting, we do take consensus, but there's more than what would qualify to be a, Harold Smethels just walked in the room, so if we can take that on the record. And do we have anybody online, by the way?
Yes, we do. We have Craig Roten and Kevin Rance online.
Repeat that, please.
Craig Roten and Kevin Rance are online.
Okay, thank you. And so the first nature of our business here, we have plenty of members in here, is going to be approval of the minutes from the last meeting of May 20th. Everybody should have received a copy and had it. So any corrections, changes? Okay, then I would accept a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Disapprove, nay. And we have one abstention. Keep that in mind. Clark Hamilton abstained. So, and with that, the minutes are approved. Now we're going to go into general member discussion here. I would just like to go around the table. If anybody has any general topics you want to bring up that's not on the agenda, please. These are items on the agenda. Tricia.
Tricia Bernhardt. Just want to make sure that we do have time to talk today about the consultant RFP that needs to go out or has gone out. And we need to talk about setting up a public meeting for the public to talk about water issues. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm a little confused about that statement. Setting for the public to talk about water?
The last time we met, we talked about potentially having a public meeting whereby the public could come and talk about their concerns. Maybe their information would help to inform the Water Master Plan. And so we had talked about having an open public meeting and just wanted to have further discussion about that.
Well, I think item 4B on our agenda is just that item.
Well, nobody would know that they were allowed to come and talk. How would anybody know that they were allowed to come and talk today?
I know there was notice, but I don't think there was anything posted in the newspaper specifically saying with some big release, but I'm pretty sure that the county staff did put out a notice that there would be an opening for public hearing today for notice.
And so we think that would be an open public meeting? I'm confused. How would the public know that they were allowed to come? How would they have been noticed?
I would have to refer to staff, but I know we had a meeting and we talked about this item being put up, and I know that the communication staff had opened that up, and that's where we're at. So when we're talking about a public meeting, what we were saying was we were opening it up for the public to talk. And so we were addressing that the full half of this meeting, the last half, and in fact, an hour was dedicated to that purpose today. So that's where we're at. I can't answer that. Can you, staff, answer anything about any notifications?
This is Lauren Pulver with staff. The agenda was posted in advance, as it usually is, on the website. The direction from the Board of County Commissioners about the public comment was to just post it as a typical agenda item. So public comment is open for this meeting.
I take exception to that. I don't think the public knew that they were allowed to come and talk. We need to have more marketing or something out there where people know that they can talk and talk about their concerns. I don't think that's enough notification. That's my opinion.
Roger?
No, now
Usually
it
just
is.
leave it on. Roger Hudson, City Council for Castle Pines. And if the staff would answer a question for me, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the commissioners had a robust conversation about what this would look like, the public comment would look like. Am I mistaken in what that was?
That's correct. The direction we received from the board following that meeting did change a little bit, and so we're following direction from the board in the way it's structured today.
Good, thank you.
Yep. So Don and I met with the commissioners. We explained where we were, gave them an update, and then we specifically talked about, because they own the public footprint, if you will. And so we followed the directions that they gave us that we had to do for the public forum. And so I know that it was posted here, and that's all I can tell you. I don't know anything else regarding that. So I think there's going to be other chances, because we're going to have to open it up whenever we come up with any kind of findings, any other issues, which is going to provide opportunity when people can come in then. I mean, it's very similar to what Arapahoe, El Paso, and Albert did. And I think that's going to be part of the overall process. It's going to be a public open forum type thing, if that's what you're referring to.
I am referring to an open public forum. I do think one before we get started on the master plan is a good idea, to hear what the concerns are and to hear what people want the master plan to include and where we should be focused. I just feel like that would be the fair opportunity for others who are not sitting around this table. There are many people concerned
Right.
about water in this county.
So, go ahead, James.
A question of clarification. Is there an intent to have this item on all of our meetings moving forward, or was it just this one?
Just this meeting?
Okay.
Right. Like I said, we took it per the commission's request to the commissioners, and they laid out the format and how they wanted it to be conducted. So, that's all I can tell you. Anybody else got any other comments for member discussion? Going around the board once, the room twice. Second, end of that subject. Okay. With that, we're going to move to the first item on the agenda, which is a discussion regarding the Highway 85 wastewater project. You have a packet inside, and what you have is a presentation that the commissioners have put together. Joining us is Commissioner Teal, who wanted to address this to the Water Commission. Now, I want to say some things here real quick, and George and I think, talked a little about this too. What he's looking for is just a feeling of what this commission thinks about this particular item. There's not going to be, we're not a referral agency by no means, so we're not going to be taking a formal vote of approval, pass or fail type thing. That's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is to hear what George has to say about this project, how it affects something they've been working on for a long time. In fact, when I was a commissioner, we even worked on it a bit. Tells you how bad we failed. Sorry, George. But anyhow, the point is what, at the end of George's presentation, what I would like to do is go around to every member and get your feedback, your input, and please enlighten the commissioners if you think it's the greatest idea or what it is or what it might be missing. But George can take that feedback then, and he can very quickly assess what kind of consensus is brewing here, and then he can give that feedback back to the commissioners. Is that suitable, sir?
That sounds great, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yes.
All right, very good. Hey, folks, my name is George Schultz. I am one of your three Douglas County Commissioners, and I bring this project to you today on behalf of the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners.
Can you hang on a minute, George? It appears it's not on. And without you being on, they're not going to get it online.
There you go.
See, that's why the smart people are staff here at Douglas County. Again, my name is George Teal. I'm one of your three Douglas County Commissioners, and I bring before you this project that we have planned for water and wastewater investment along Highway 85 on behalf of your Douglas County Board of County Commissioners. In a nutshell, this is what we're doing. You can see two legs of the project, one in the north, ostensibly focused on Dominion and Louvieres, and then one in the south, out of Castle Rock, up into the Sedalia area. We're using American Rescue Plan Act dollars. This is, your commissioners, like everybody else, we call these ARPA funds. So if you hear me use the phrase ARPA, it is this American Rescue Plan Act. This was passed through Congress in the wake of the COVID pandemic. And you can kind of see how $3.6 billion came into the state of Colorado. $68.2 million came here into Douglas County. Its intent is to offset problems from the COVID pandemic. Of course, we all lived through the COVID pandemic. We all understood our own personal journeys, the journeys that our friends and families had, those who unfortunately did succumb to the pandemic, but many of us did get out alive. And I can assure you, Douglas County, by and large, suffered few of the economic impacts that did affect other parts of the country. These are the allowable uses of ARPA funds. So we can pay ourselves back any public sector revenue that was lost. Douglas County, however, we really didn't have a whole lot of public sector losses. Not the same can be said for all of our municipalities, but by and large, Douglas County came through the pandemic pretty well. And yet, these are funds being provided by the federal government. And so if you'll notice the fourth line down, invest in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. That's where the project I will be showing you is where that investment dollars are going to land. This is kind of the big picture of how we're spending your ARPA dollars. There is a quiz on all the fine print. Please take notes. I don't expect you guys to read all those details, but I do want you to understand. What we're about to talk about today is the third column from the right. You will notice, though, that we are spending these funds in many different areas, from mental health through our homeless response, broadband, and then wildfire suppression and mitigation. So we are spending these funds through this entire range of allowed uses. But today we're going to be talking about that third column, water and wastewater, which we are proposing. We have a proposed plan for $40 million of investment. All right, so here's where the conceptual design comes from. We went to Castle Rock Water, we went to Dominion Water, and we asked them to identify the most cost-effective and beneficial means of providing wastewater treatment to the corridor from among several alternatives. Providing relief to both the small town of Leviers as well as Sedalia was kind of central to what we wanted to do. We have what I personally consider to be emergent issues in those two communities that we wanted to address, specifically for Leviers. But then also, what can we do with an infrastructure project that would really lay the success for the next generation in the Highway 85 corridor? And this is a little more detailed of what you got. The Diamondback study, which occurred, Harold, help me out with that, 2015 to 2018, was a study by the county to try to come up with alternatives. What could be done to bring water and wastewater infrastructure to the 85 corridor? Again, it hosts two of our communities that are really some of our more economically challenged. The corridor, there's an argument to be made, is economically suppressed, and it's this main area for transportation through the county that is really languishing economically. So what could we do to provide wastewater infrastructure through that area? And it's the Diamondback study that came up with some of these alternatives. Here's all the participants and the stakeholders in the Diamondback study. As you can see, not necessarily a small group of stakeholders. A whole lot of folks participated in it. I'm sure many of you can draw your place of business or your place of residence from this list, giving us the plan that we have to present to you today for a favorable opinion. Again, the blue in the north, the blue and the red in the north are in partnership with Dominion, a development partner, and the the community of Luviers. And then in the south, between the town of Castle Rock Municipal Utility and the community of Sedalia and the businesses that are along that corridor. Here's a little more detail of the northern portion. Notice that you do have the force main for the sewer line from Luviers into Sterling Ranch, as well as the emergency water line that would be provided for the town of Luviers. The community of Luviers, of course, has been dealing with issues with their well for the last few years, and this would be an emergency water line that would help to alleviate those concerns. The southern portion is really spearheaded by Castle Rock Water Municipal Water, and it will have a force main and sewer line running to the south into the Plum Creek wastewater reclamation facility. This is how it all breaks down. These are the costs. You will notice the column in red in the middle on how the ARPA funding will be used. $20 million for the wastewater plant for Dominion and $14 million for the lift station and force main in Castle Rock. And by the way, I don't do this stuff all the time. I've gotten so rusty from my time in business. Let me back up a little bit here. I'd like you to pay attention, please, to the green that is on this map. And you can notice there's that green triangle to the west, to the left-hand side. So that will be boy, I hope I get this one right, the Chatfield Valley Water Reclamation Facility. Did I get that right? What's the B stand for? I just noticed. Thank you, Andrea. The Chatfield Basin Water Reclamation Facility. And that's where Dominion will own and operate that plant to take wastewater, treat it to a drinking water level, and then have access to where they can also, they will deposit that into Plum Creek. They'll deposit that into the Platte River and then recover it from the Platte River. And then, of course, under the laws of the state of Colorado, use that water to extinction of the molecule, I think is the proper phrase. Okay, that very important point made. Now this probably makes a lot more sense. We do see other funds that are going to come into play for the wastewater plant, potable water line to Luviers, lift station force main from Luviers. There are other funds. There's a development partner that after a great deal of negotiation is in to participate. And guys, you could see those total costs. The investment of your ARPA dollars, these are federal dollars that were provided to the county, will be $34 million. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions from the board, from the commission.
Okay, with that, remember, if you have a question, give us your name first. So we'll start with anybody who has a question. Tricia.
Tricia Bernhardt, what is the volume of wastewater, particularly for the southern line, I'm interested, coming from up to the north down to Castle Rock? What is the volume of that wastewater? Where is that actually coming from? What is the source of the waste?
I'm going to phone a friend on that one and ask Mark Marlowe from Castle Rock Water to please come up and come on up and help me answer that question, Mark.
Obviously, in the near term, Commissioner Bernhardt, it would be the town of Sedalia area. In town of Sedalia, you have Sedalia Elementary School. We have CORE, the large business down there that used to be IREA. And then, of course, a lot of the rest of that capacity would be available for future development along the corridor.
Okay. And the volume?
600,000 gallons per day is what the force main and lift station will be set up for.
But what do you expect to run run through it initially?
Oh, initially it'll be fairly small. So initially it'll be basically designed to carry what we need to keep the force main fresh. So when you talk about the town of Sedalia, you've got 100 houses, but they won't all connect initially. You have Core, which has a reasonable amount, but small. Sedalia Elementary School. So the initial volumes will be pretty small. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but they'll be pretty small.
Anyone else? Yes, Frank.
So, Mark, your letter talked about that there was an initial plan that didn't include Castle Rock, and it sounded like all that wastewater was going to go to Dominion, and then they re-looked at it and reconsidered it and decided to go different directions. So originally, the Sedalia wastewater was going to go down to the north?
That's my,
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
continue your question, Frank.
Yeah, so it's just, it mentioned that, you didn't talk about it in your presentation. I was just wondering, there was a change recently, I guess, to the original alternative that was selected. And just wondering why?
Okay, how much time do I have to go through all the alternatives that this plan has gone through evolution of? Frank, there was not one alternative.
Well,
This
it
plan
said that
is,
there was one selected.
oh, yeah,
Oh, okay.
oh, yeah, no,
So
what you
then
see,
And then there was a new alternative.
oh, yeah, no, there's been numerous. I'm going to go back to this one.
Just talk about, yeah, I mean, why, all I'm asking, why the change?
What change?
There was one selected, and then it was decided, no, we're going to have a change. And I mean, so Dominion's wastewater plant would have been bigger and all this stuff. But, so maybe Mark's letter's wrong, so just, I'm confused.
Well, let me dispel the confusion, guys. From the very beginning, our plan was to try to accommodate the designs out of this Diamondback study. And you can see the Diamondback study always had a north and a south portion. You can see the different colors showing the different alternatives that were explored. So this is kind of where we started. And in terms of what has gone on, at one point in time, Mark, I know I was in a conversation about, hey, let's just do the Castle Rock pump back out of Chatfield. No, that didn't work out. Andrea, I know at one point in time, I can't even remember the permutations of the super plan that we had out of Dominion. And the bottom line is, guys, there was a very detailed and expansive planning process that went to bring this plan to you today that really did start big. And the budget got big. The budget got to be about $80 million. And we knew that we had to pare it back. So when you talk about what are the alternatives that have been approached, what you see here on the Diamondback study, there are pieces and parts of that were explored as alternatives to finally bring us this probably fairly simple plan. It is two parts. It is the north and the south in order to bring wastewater service to the 85 corridor. So, yeah, Commissioner Johns, there was a whole lot of alternatives that were looked through.
I understand that. And it's probably just the way I read the letter. It was, an alternative was selected, and then it was thrown out, and a new alternative was selected. So I can understand that. I was just wondering why, but don't worry about it.
Well, so some of it was money, some of it was that nasty thing called engineering and the laws of hydrodynamics, I think, too. Did I see one from Commissioner Roger?
Hey there, Commissioner Roger, I like that. Very casual, like we're friends or something.
I thought you'd appreciate it.
I did, Commissioner George. I have two really quick questions. One is about the ARPA money. So, correct me if I'm mistaken. So, we only have two choices, right? Give the money back or spend it. Is it this year or next year? ARPA money?
All money must be allocated this year.
This year.
And then funds must be expended by December 31st, 2026.
So if I'm not mistaken, we have a very limited use here, and we must spend it by the end of the year. So that's really our small window and our small group of choices here.
Yeah, you could see this slide really shows you some of the alternatives that we are approaching. So we're not putting all $68 million into this one project.
Right.
This is one project of the many that the commissioners are pursuing.
You quickly, and this is my second question, my last question, you just quickly said something about economic development in putting the system in along 85, and it's in dire need. You said something very quickly. Did I misunderstand what economic development in that area with this project were you talking about?
Yeah, let me get the project site back up. Actually, this is a good one because it shows the 85 corridor. The vast majority of the land usage that has been adjudicated by the commissioners in the past has placed most of the land in this area in commercial zoning. And you'll notice it. Guys, just go drive up it after the meeting, and you'll see, in some cases, acres and acres of RV park. You'll see acres and acres of storage. You won't see acres and acres of, manufacturing plants, light manufacturing, of office space. And yet, this is an area that is largely zoned for commercial. We had a study hosted by Mr. Avery over to my left shortly after I came in office here as a commissioner, talking about what would happen if we were to rezone everything along the 85 corridor as residential. And the modeling became more and more disturbing the further we went. The more land in this area that you zone for residential, the quicker you choke out transportation capability on Highway 85. The more robust we would need any water or wastewater infrastructure through this area to be in order to serve that amount of residential. And so current commissioners at the time, we decided that no, we want to stay the course with our zoning in this corridor. We're happy to hear any applicant that would come forward with limited residential zoning, of course, as is their right as landowners. However, the majority of your zoning is commercial, and yet it's commercial that can't go anywhere. It can't go anywhere beyond the RV storage site, the acres and acres of Connex boxes, just because there is not the infrastructure to provide for a higher or better use. Part of our goal here with this project, whether you're counting the northern end of it or the southern end of it, is to provide that backbone infrastructure to allow the commercial development in this area to reach a higher and better use than it is currently.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Let's go to Clark.
Clark Hamelman. George, you talked about this as a project, but it really strikes me as two separate, independent projects. Can you just clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, you bet. Let me get that up. Excuse me. So to the north, the county will be entering into an IGA with Dominion Water and Sand for the lift station, the treatment plant, force main, and the Waterton Road water line. In the south, the county will be entering into an IGA with the town of Castle Rock municipal water utility for the purposes of building the lift station and force main back to the Plum Creek water reclamation facility.
So, in effect, two totally independent projects, separate construction, separate engineering. We're really talking about two projects.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
that combine to achieve an objective, but they're two independent projects.
I think if you talk to Clark, if you talk to our colleagues now on the Castle Rock Council, they would say it's two separate projects. If you talk to Dominion Water and Sand, they'd say it's two separate projects. As far as the county is concerned, this is a project. with two very significant partners and elements.
Jim?
Jim Morris. So I really don't have a question, it's just some comments, but, so great use of the funds to help Leviers. No doubt they've been in trouble up there for a long time, and so the IGA and the ARPA money with Dominion is a good move, in my opinion. Same type of proposal in the south. It's a huge benefit for Castle Rock, and, Mr. Marlowe's done a great job at Castle Rock, and so them exceeding going outside of their service area, and using the 10% increase is a common feature and a good play for Castle Rock in this, and the IGA and the ARPA money them is money well spent. I know the Sedalia situation pretty well while I was working, and that's a tough nut to crack. So hopefully they're on board in Sedalia with the proposal here, because that's been a tough group to get on board. So hopefully they see this as the right move, and Castle Rock's doing the right thing, and we'll see some benefit this from the return flows, obviously. So my final comment is, you're talking about the two IGAs here with these two partners that are going to solve these problems. There's other IGAs that you and I are aware of, George, and we just hope we get the same consideration.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, Commissioner Maritz. I appreciate those comments. Putting this together has been, I think it's very accurate to say it's been a 2-year process. There are elements of details that I'm more than happy to go into that are not necessarily perfectly equal between the two sides of this project. And yet this is what was required to really get it done. One of the things I want to highlight is we look at the ARPA funding, and that's from the county. But then you look at your other funds that are coming in. This is really not only a government project. Guys, this is a private-public process that we've put together in order to deliver these perhaps life-saving solutions for the folks in Leviers, to address severe infrastructure issues in the town of Sedalia. And by the way, the folks in the Sedalia community have, with their wastewater district, they've been, actually, they've kind of been a pleasure to work with. They've really come along. And then, of course, the businesses along the corridor see this as a positive step as well. So big project. When I go out and do economic development stuff, I get to talk about the $53 million investment, public-private partnership investment that the county is making in order to revitalize this area and hopefully open it up for businesses where people live in Douglas County and work in Douglas County. Because we got plenty of people who work in Douglas County and then drive for an hour outside of the county to earn their living wage. So that's a big part of this as well.
I'd like to go to Evan.
Yeah, Evan Ela. Commissioner Teal, so in that chart you have there, so the $8 million of other funds on the top line, is that provided by county other funds? And is that what purchases 0.2 million gallons per day of capacity in the plant?
So when we look at the $8 million, so other funds on the wastewater plant with Dominion, that would be the development partner that will be working with Dominion. Dominion will provide their water wastewater service, and that constitutes, I think in part, tap fees to connect to Dominion.
But Douglas County ends up with a piece of the capacity in that plant, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then it seemed like in the letter from Castle Rock that they'd be borrowing Douglas County's capacity, I think in the Plum Creek plant, but I wasn't sure. It seemed to me like Douglas County ends up having capacity in both plants in some way. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. Okay. And in order to serve any other development that would occur along the corridor.
Okay, and in the Plum Creek plant, Douglas County's capacity is as a result of investments earlier in that plant, I take it, or where does that come from? How does the Douglas County come to have capacity in the Plum Creek plant?
Might phone a friend on that one again. My short answer is because we asked for it and Mark said okay, but I'll let Mark give you a better, more educated answer.
Yeah, so they get, we're providing 600,000 gallons of capacity in the plant. They do have to pay a fairly small tap fee for that as they connect. People that bring water like Core and others to that will get that waived. There won't be any cost for them to connect to that. The other thing that's important, I just want to point out, is that we're collecting system development fees for any new development that does connect to this, and that goes back to the county as well to repay the costs. So in essence, the county is going to get a significant portion of that investment back. So it's not a case where Castle Rock's building this $14 million lift station and taking those system development fees to Castle Rock. Those go back to the county.
Okay, and then part of this, maybe I've missed this, Sedalia becomes your water customer, or are they already your water customer?
They're not our water customer currently. They become our wastewater customer, the
Only
folks that
wastewater.
connect on. Yeah.
Only wastewater, but not water.
In the near term, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Ms. Frank Johns brought up a question, and you mentioned it with Core, that they're providing water. So does Castle Rock get that reusable water? Is that what that is?
Yeah, in other words, if Core is currently just putting that water downstream, that water comes back, gets treated, we have an existing reuse system, bring that water back and put it to use again, and that accounts for waiving tap fees for those folks that would connect to that wastewater capacity.
Good, thanks.
Any other questions? Just a couple quick comments I have, and then I'm going to close this portion of our meeting and just go around the room here real quick. So I know we're addressing wastewater, which has been a real health issue for Levere's and a lot of, even when I was a commissioner, it was a real problem with businesses down there who actually, some had to close doors because they couldn't literally manage their waste runoff. I mean, whatever waste they used, some porta potties, you name it. They were just grasping at what they could do to try to figure out how to have it, which also then really cut back on the ability, the kind of businesses that could come in, which also then affected the landowners because they could not get the greatest extent of use of their particular land that was allowed to them by zoning. But guess what? No water and no wastewater facilities. So it's a very difficult and tough corridor. So I really appreciate the commissioner joining it. I know this is wastewater, but it's driving in my mind because I know Levere's also has a water supply issue to deal with some decaying, and when I was a commissioner, infrastructure to get to homes, and I would even venture to say to get from homes. When I saw that it said bringing lines to Levere's. So I assume that they're then responsible to make the connections and manage their own infrastructure as part of that community. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is some of that, Chair. So the water line that you see represented on this map in the blue, to the right, to the east side or right side, that's going to Levere's, that will also extend to the development partner to the east of Levere's. That will be their main water service, which is a part of their financial mix as a part of this plan. And so they will have that water service, but then as Levere's goes forward, one of the projects affiliated with this, with some of these funds, has been the replacement of Levere's water distribution system. It's a very old system. It suffered the problem of getting accretions on the inside of the pipe. This was something brought forward by the executive director of Dominion Water and Wastewater very early in the process, that we could take treated water from the plant on the Platte, drop it into that distribution system, and we will have a miniature Flint, Michigan problem rapidly. In days, weeks, years, but eventually we will have that similar problem. So we are devoting some of these funds to, these ARPA funds, to replacing Louviere's water distribution system, kind of going from the main to the building. There's still more work of that to be done. There's still an estimated $2 million that is not accounted in this plan for that we are already working through, whether it's using ARPA funds or it's using the general fund in order to help them close the gap and replace all of their distribution system.
Great. Thank you very much for those comments. And my only comment on all that was, I think, unfortunately, as Douglas County did not age overnight. I mean, we have some older communities here that are very old, Sedalia, Lavieres, just to name a couple. And because of that, what's happened is, unfortunately, some of those get left behind and the world drives past them. And I think there's some sins of the past that we've got. There's only one way to do it. You just got to address it and do it. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And to just sit on and let it keep happening over and over and over is in itself a sin, I think. And thank you for addressing that. So I want to go around the board right now, if I can, and I'm going to start off with Harold. Just if you have any comments, and would you please express somewhere in there your thoughts of support or your thoughts of, I don't think it's a good idea or whatever. Harold?
Is this on? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I have a conflict because I serve on the board of Dominion, but I think it's a great plan. Terrence, I think you were here when we did that Tetra Tech study in like 2006 or 7 that came to exactly the same conclusion that about there's a north and south system. So this is nothing new. Most importantly, our job here is water and water supply. With this system, and when Dominion comes up, and we'll have 4 significant regional wastewater treatment plants in our county. We'll have Dominion, Centennial water system, the Castle Rock system, and Parker system, all of whom can collect their return flows. So as this comes forward, we will have completed a system that close loops our entire county. I think we're probably the first county that's even come close to doing that. So from a water supply standpoint, I'm really excited about it because it does give us now the facility to reuse all the water in the county, or more and more of it, to extinction, which is huge.
Yeah, thank you. It looks like a generally solid plan to me. The notion of getting return flows I'm really keen on that. So it does close that loop, and that certainly is really important. Reminds me of the ARRA funds, if you remember, in 2009. And if you got a project that's shovel ready and you're ready to take advantage of it, then you do it. So looks like a good use of the funds to me.
Evan?
Thank you, Frank. Evan Ela. I think it looks like a good solid plan, a good use of funds that are available now and won't be other times. It looks like to me it will probably improve the water quality in Plum Creek, and that's a good thing for the lake down below and the whole corridor. So, and to the extent you can recapture returns from reusable water, I mean, I applaud that, and reclaiming it, reusing it, whatever, as much as we can. So it does seem like a good use of the funds available.
Great. Frank?
Yeah, Frank Johns, I agree with that in terms of, instead of leaching into the ground, we now can, get reusable water and use it. There's always this debate about bigger and bigger regional plants about, versus localized plants and easier for reuse, but I think we're still going to be able to reuse the water.
Great, thank you. Roger?
Well, I obviously can't speak to the engineering of it all, but it does look like it's multi-purpose positive for the county, not only for water, but also for the communities that it touches, and also for economic, which also really interests me in that area in particular, Douglas County. Anything we can do to reclaim water is always a net positive for us in Douglas County as we search for more more and more water for us. So again, and for ARPA money, since it's here and we're going to lose it if we don't use it, I think it's a positive for us. Congratulations to the commissioners for using it, and using it looks like wisely.
Jim?
Yeah, good use of ARPA money. Helps us get down this road to better reuse of our water. I hope Dominion and Castle Rock Water don't forget the benefit they're getting from this. And I know Castle Rock has been really good about going outside of the service area of the town recently and helping people. So I hope this continues that. This is what it is. It's continuing that path to becoming a regional provider for water and sewer. There's another regional plant that's under consideration right now between Perry Park and Larkspur. And Larkspur is in trouble. The state recently changed our permit for Perry Park that dumps into Plum Creek, just south of Castle Rock. So what we dump in, Castle Rock's taken out to a certain extent. That's another project in a community that's economically, not as good as obviously Perry Park and Castle Rock. So we'll be, looking for help on that one as well. But this all heads us in the direction where it's good for the county.
By the way, Commissioner, I'll translate what he said. He's got leverage now. So let's go with Clark.
Clark Hamelman. I support these, both parts of this single project. And I'll concur with what's been said. I think in the future years, we'll look back at this and appreciate, we don't even appreciate to the full extent that this will contribute to economic development along that corridor. I mean, the 85 corridor is the county obviously putting a lot of emphasis on it over the years of improving that roadway. And part of the reason you do that is for the economic development, but you have to have all the infrastructure to complete the economic development. So I think this is a very good plan.
Tricia?
Yep, Tricia Bernhardt. I think also it looks like these are good projects. My one concern is if you're asking whether or not we think this is a good use of ARPA funds, I don't know enough about the other projects to know whether or not this is the best projects to fund. So that's my concern. They do look like good projects. I was not involved in any of the other evaluation. If you were asking for my approval or vote, I'd have to abstain because I don't know enough about the other projects.
Anyone online want to comment? Not hearing anything. I can just tell you that since 2007, the Commissioner's Office has looked at this situation. We've had several critical moments, and we wanted to address it before, but we knew we would have to do it with general fund dollars. And I have to tell you, anytime you can get partners to participate and you can make your tax dollars go farther and better, it's like getting a tax decrease. I mean, it really is, so because you're getting more tangible services for the benefit. And frankly, in my opinion, this is one of the sins of the county from our forefathers that never got fixed. And it's time that it needs to be fixed before people, quite frankly, Levere's is suffering a lot. I mean, they can't drink their water. They can't do a lot of things. And for those who don't realize what that means is that even though you can't drink it, you really want to be bathing in it too. And, there's children that are affected here. So, you know what? I think we had an obligation to do this. I think it was the right thing to do, both from a health, safety, and welfare aspect, and also from a futures development, economic development standpoint from the corridor as a whole. So I'm very excited that you're able to move forward with this and then get that accomplished, if only for the fact that I'm going to put it straight out, I think you're saving a community. And I think that's important. And I really, really, really appreciate the fact that you guys are able to get this addressed and you could find funds to do that. Whether anyone, one way or the other, why not me? I don't know. I can't answer. I mean, your day is coming, no doubt, but not addressing that. But at this point in time, thank you very much. So I think you know where I feel about it. Okay. With that, I think we're going to close this portion of our meeting and move on to the next agenda topic. I'll leave it to Commissioner Teal to close. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, Chairman. Well, first and foremost, obviously, I'm presenting to you today, but I can't give enough credit to both Mark Marlowe with Castle Rock Water and Andrea Cole and her team over at Dominion, specifically Brock Smethels. I know he played a key role, but also the good people in Sedalia and Leviers, who also, again, are in a tough spot and really have been very good partners in working with the county and working with the major partners on this project in Castle Rock and Dominion. And Chair, if it pleases the commission, obviously, you essentially polled the commission. It sounds like there is a favorable opinion. I guess I would like to ask, may I take back to my colleagues a favorable opinion of this project from the commission?
I'm looking at the commissioners around the board right now, and I think there's 9 of us present. 10, Jim had to leave early, apologize for that. But of the 9 present, I know we have a sound of support for all, and then we do have 1 abstention for that. So, okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I will be happy to take that back to my colleagues.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you for your time, sir. Okay, I need to find out now and look to staff. Do we have anyone signed up that's here in person?
We do not have anyone signed up in person. We do have 9 people online.
Oh, great.
Not confirmed if they're looking to speak to the public comment, but we can ask them that.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Chair, if I might interrupt, we are having some technical difficulties. I've been asked if you're open to a 5-minute recess to reset our system, and then we can pick up the public comment.
You betcha, that'll work. So we're going to take about let's make it a 10-minute, and then we'll do that. And at the same time, can you please have them poll who's online as to who wants to address the commission based upon what our roles are, okay? And I'll explain that. Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Wait, bingo, we got daylight. Okay. We're up and running at this point in time. Okay, so we're moving on to the next part of our agenda. This part of the agenda was the public forum, which point in time we're looking at, and I can tell you there's nobody that's signed up that is currently present to speak, and I need to just verify, is there anybody online that would like to speak and address the commission at this point in time? I will let you know there's a couple of rules. No political theater, please. We'll mute your mic if it starts going down that road. No bashing any entity, water districts, water providers, people's names, or anything like that. Not appropriate. We need to respect everybody's differences and move on with that whole point. And we would like you to make sure you limit your conversation to the topic at hand that the commission can actually address, which is the RFI process, the RFP process, and what we're going to be looking at to identify and develop an analysis and a gap analysis of the current water availability in the county through 2050, and how the different aspects of projected growth, et cetera, are going to impact that. So, is there anybody online that would like to address the commission at this point?
Thank you, Chair. I have no one online that wishes to address the
So we have a very quick public forum at this point. So with that, I'm actually going to close this. Well, I can. Nobody signed up. Anybody in the room that didn't sign up that would like to address the commission? Oh, we do have someone. Great, thank you. Well, don't feel bad. So if you'd like, why don't you just come up here to the mic, okay? Introduce yourself, give us your address, and let's talk about it. Thank you.
I won't give you my address, but I'll give you my city.
Well, how about a P.O. box? So.
My name is Jill Campbell, and as we're looking at the crisis with high temperatures, if everyone hasn't experienced that, we've got reprieve in Douglas County and where I live in Highlands Ranch, specifically very cool weather the last couple days. But as you saw, Iowa flooded, and the extreme we had 18 deaths in Arizona alone. So when we're looking at the projection of drought with water, and I'm not sure, I was reading some things about WOTUS, the laws that are set forth for rivers and clean water, and I think that is one of the most critical things for human health, is to have clean water. So when we're not only looking at the quality of water, changes lives. And I appreciate this county for the quality of people who care so much and invest their own personal time in things like this. But when I look at the 85 wastewater project, I think essential. I was 12 when I fished with my dad down in Sedalia, and I went just last October, I guess it was September. There was a church dance. Old friends of mine that I knew years ago have a barn right there, and we had a barn dance and really great things. And I do know that improving infrastructure in an equal way so that these people who have existed in that city for so long deserve this kind of, water project. I think that's very considerate. And then when I also, we have the recycling of water, renewal, is that what it's called? Renewal, several, and aquifers. And when I first came to Highlands Ranch and I believe it was, I think I arrived in August, but by October, I had texted Abe Layden. I didn't know him at the time, but I looked up the commissioner. I said, is there something wrong with the water? It's so much chlorine. I was used to drinking from the Blue River and good water when, I fished with my dad. We could just scoop our hands and felt safe drinking the water. So now, I put aside money so I have clean water in my house, and it's very great. I love it, especially my hair, it works good. But really essential to have clean, quality water. So when I also have a friend who works on the Jeffco project, that the $500 million project they're doing up north. And as we were talking about some of the things he faced in there, that he started, he's trying to do a water project in Ghana. He's very brilliant. He worked in Chicago initially and could see the lack of clean water and the lack of regulation for clean water. And as we were speaking, I think the thing that I gathered from this man mostly was how expensive it is to have renewable water in a general sense. I know we added $15 to each one of our Douglas County water bills to have kind of a HOA of water on our bills. If anyone noticed that, I did. So long term, as we're looking at drought and possibly floods or like erosion and just the fire last week what was that? It eroded land, and right across from Parker, it goes in there. I can't. Leadville. Was it Leadville, or where was that fire? It destroyed 600 acres. Did anyone see that? The campfire. So then the next day, cool weather's nice to fight a fire, but then they had erosion of land, and it rained, and so it distorts the landscape, like we saw in Iowa 2 days ago. Flooded 19 counties. Did you see that? They can actually probably use ski boats now instead of, but really it changed the whole landscape, and they have an emergency, emergency for 19 counties. And so we're not only looking at the risk factors, but we're also looking at the safety of water with risk factors. So, I do know that making this a good plan is essential, and you don't have a lot of time. I was watching the meeting this morning that you had last week or 2 weeks ago, and you don't have a lot of time to do this. And I think it was, are you Katie? I don't, she spoke last time. Or maybe it was Tricia.
Yeah.
Tricia, you spoke. Thank you, Tricia. I met Katie a while ago. So not a lot of time to make a good decision, but you make a bad decision, you make a bad decision. And I think you don't have a lot of money to do this either. And aquifers are good, but someone on that statement, we don't even know where our water source is at. With, we had 2 good snowfalls, but good, considering good. Most people from other states think it's good. I was 15, 16 in 1988 when we had 4 feet blocking our doors and blizzards we couldn't even see through, like we couldn't even walk down out our doors. It was so, I have never seen the likes of the water, but we did have, the good thing is Lake Powell is filling 25% more, and California, that last year snowed. So it's changing the landscape. And I think that's not only important to know the risk fire danger like we saw in Leadville, the risk factors of building without the protection for the risk factor. So we have, you can infect a water system very easily, very quickly. You can poison people, as we saw in Chicago and now Iowa. They don't have access to water because those pumps flooded, and they don't have clean water. So I think risk factor is very essential, like Tricia suggested, is to make a good decision. A quick decision is no decision when it's not a good decision.
Great, Ms. Campbell, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anybody else online or here that would like to speak or address the commission? Seeing none at this point in time, we're going to pull back and get now back to the commission itself. Looks like we have about 12 minutes to continue our conversations. So what I'd like to do, like I do every time we have one of these meetings, is first off, I want to get an update, however, from staff so that you know where we're at on the RFI process. So I'm going to ask if you would please just give us a quick update where we're at on the RFI.
This is Lauren Pulver with staff. The RFI was published on our public BidNet system the first week of June. It does close the end of this week, so the 28th, the RFI closes. We've gone through the question and answer period, got a couple of good questions just to clarify, and we'll have our list of respondents to you all once it closes.
So the answer, I think what we're saying there right now is RFI's been issued. We have had some questions. We have not had any specific responses come in yet because the timeline within the RFI did not have them respond with an RFP yet of that RFI. But we're going to probably get a count by the time we have our next meeting. Tricia, I know you grabbed the mic.
Tricia Bernhardt, can we actually see what went into the BidNet? So can you make a link or something so we could see that? I'd like to see that. And just if there was a Q&A session, was it in person? And can we see the questions and answers?
Yep, we can share that. It's all publicly posted. I do believe you need access to get into the BidNet, but we can send out the attachments separately.
Okay, Don.
Yeah, so you published the questions, correct? Which is part of the process, but we can't see them yet?
No, I will provide those with the rest of the documents.
Okay, you're going to send that out as a separate mailing? Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, I would like to bring it back to the commission and just look at our closing remarks, and I'd like to start with Tricia.
Tricia Bernhardt, thank you very much.
Tricia, your mic may not be working. I'll pull it closer, one of the two.
I don't know. Tricia Bernhardt, thank you, and appreciate the RFI going out. Look forward to seeing who responds. You said it closes on the 28th. How will then the commission take a look at what comes in? Well, obviously, the staff is going to see the information first or see the proposals first. Will we at our next commission meeting evaluate those, or has anybody thought through the process?
I think the plan, last discussion at the last Water Commission meeting was to bring in the list of everyone who has provided a response. And if you'd all like to set up we have identified in the RFI potential next Water Commission meeting to bring in interviews so that you all get a chance to have that question and answer session and, open for discussion if that's still appetite for the Water Commission.
Sounds good, thank you.
Anything else, Tricia, you would like to comment on or talk? Okay, Clark? Jim? Roger?
Thank you.
Let's run over here to Frank.
No. Nothing further.
Don?
Okay, Don Langley. I just want to kind of poke around at that RFI process again. So it seems to me like the commission would need to see the responses that have come to us and the questions and any replies. But would we then select the people that we want to come and do a presentation, or does everybody get a chance? How do we go? What's the process to get from everything's turned in to who gets to come and do a presentation?
Yep. Let me comment on that real quick. I think what's going to happen, once we have it, it's going to be dependent on a couple of things. One, how many do we have? That's automatically going to determine timing and other things like that. Number two, without a doubt, we're going to see the copies of the responses. They're going to be posted, and the commission is going to have the opportunity to review those responses, and then we're going to be able to go over. And I think what we're going to be doing, so let's just make sure we follow and understand Colorado procurement laws. This is why we posted it on a website. They post it, they don't mail it out, they post it. Then anybody who does government work or contracts knows they have to keep alive. Most people get a notification process that an RFP was posted, and then they go out and look and see if it pertains to them. My son gets them in his line of business. So they went out, and those were posted. Those who were interested looked at it, and they've downloaded them, but nobody has come back yet with any replies. It's just that the posting date is closed. There is a close date for when your RFPs have to be turned in. RFIs, have to be returned. Once we have all of that, we're going to be able to, between now and July, make a determination how we begin this process of interviewing them. It might be that Donna and I say, listen, we've only got 4 responses or 2 responses or whatever, and we're going to bring them in next month, and we're going to start voix-dying them, if you're familiar with my cousin Benny. But anyhow, so we can voix-die that those RFIs and those respondents. But once we have that and we have our questions and we can get what we're having, then I think the commission is going to have an opportunity to weigh in. We don't have a weighting system and we don't have this, but I think what we're going to do is we can make recommendations to the county commissioners. Let's face it, it's a purchase agreement. The county commissioners have to make the decision. We don't day it, but they would be looking to us to do recommendations. They're going to be doing that. So we will have that opportunity to make a recommendation as who we feel they should select and why. Yes, Don?
So I thought the process was going to be that after we had the RFIs, that we would go back and reconstruct the RFP for the RFP to then go out for competitive bidding.
Right.
So, the 22nd would be July 22nd would be the next meeting. So we'll have all the RFI information back. It seems to me then between the 22nd and whatever the August meeting is when we would have the job to reconstruct the RFP.
I think you're correct, so I would stand corrected on that the RFP would then follow the RFI, and then we would then make the determination on that. But it's still, at that point in time, we're going to have to see how we align and have the consultants make their presentations. Everybody here said that you wanted to see the consultants who were responding, and you wanted to get their feedback so that when we developed the RFP, we would have information and input into the RFP.
Yeah, so.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that means.
You're correct.
The August meeting is when we would be in a position to review a draft again, RFP, to make final approval of that, and make final.
I'm telling you right now, I imagine it's going to be August or September.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I know we want to move along swiftly, but I don't think we want to go so fast we miss anything either.
I was just trying to line up.
Yes, Roger?
If I can be really specific in what I think you're asking, so are you suggesting that we go back into your committee, or would you, to build the RFPs, or would you like to weight it with a rubric? What are you suggesting that we do to rebuild the RFPs? Because you're correct, that is what we decided to do.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
My position would be it needs to come back to the full commission, and
Okay.
everybody needs to weigh on it one more time.
So get us the RFIs, us all read them, come back, and all of us together build the RFPs, and then weight them somehow, and then make a suggestion to the commissioners? Is that what you're suggesting, all in one meeting?
Well, no, that would
That's
be
why I'm
way too
asking.
much. Yeah, no.
That's why I'm
So
asking. What
let's
is-
follow this for a minute here. Hang
Well,
on. So if I
I'm
could
hoping to get an answer first.
Yeah.
What is your answer?
My answer would be to try and do it in one meeting, yeah.
Okay, that is Don's recommendation.
And mine haven't
I'm
been.
not comfortable kicking it out to a committee again, quite frankly.
I was just looking, instead of us floating around, I wanted to hear something.
Yeah.
Jack?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I thought one of the things we thought with the RFIs, we were going to potentially get input from the consultants on.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so we would put those into an RFP. So there is still work once we get the RFIs and we kind of decide who it is that we're going to send them out to, that we would then, update the RFP. But I mean, I don't think it's a huge process, but maybe we could get it done in the meeting, but.
So listen, I'm just going to say it this way, and I do apologize for getting some of that screwed up. That is, we've already have a draft RFP. All we're talking about doing is editing the current RFP with information from the consultants who are responding to the RFI. The RFI is to identify and determine the qualification factors of all those people who are responding to the RFP. That's really what it is. We're not going to select a respondent, okay? Then, once that happens, they can all respond to the RFP. We will have an opportunity to go through those, to talk about those. At the same time, they're going to have an opportunity to present to us, and that's what we're having in that RFI. We were going to have them come forward in the July meeting and talk to us about their thoughts of the RFP and what they feel we missed, what we didn't miss, and what we might want to consider. Then once we went from that, we were going to readjust it. Then we would convene again, get the RFP issued, put that out, and get it going, and we can figure out how we want to do that. But I can tell you, what the worst thing you want to do right now at this point is to rush that RFP. Because if you do, I'm going to tell you, I was in that world. I lived that for 10 years, and we had a saying, you got what you deserve for doing it the way you did it. And that's how vendors feel. So if we don't take our time and get it done right, I can tell you, when they're out responding, the answer's going to be, in their minds, well, they get what they deserve. Here we go. So I hate to say it that way, but that is what happens with vendors. So, okay. That put it there. Harold? And before you respond, excuse me, I'm going to try to put together just an outline real quick on the finalizing that process with a timeline so that we can try to keep it clear. I get that, but I can tell you that it's still, we're waiting to find out what happens with the RFI. Go ahead.
You just answered most of my question. I think having an outline,
Yeah.
and we're going to get a lot of good input on the RFI, and however long it takes to process that, that's what it takes. So I
Right.
think you've got it. Let's put a timeline, and let's build in that we may need an additional meeting before we finish. I think that's perfect. I really do. I think we'll be very happy with the results, and I think we'll get some good feedback. So I would comment, though, on a little bit separately in support with what Commissioner Bernhardt had mentioned. We didn't get the turnout I thought we'd get, because people keep asking me questions about it. So we might think if we do an open house, what do you call it, town hall kind of a deal again, we figure out a way to get more information out. I don't know, maybe through the districts or something. I don't know. I had expected we'd had a whole group of people here today. I really did. And we're fortunate. We have a really good staff, and the work they've done has been great. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Well, that was very good, Roger. Thank you.
I noticed on your meeting that you guys had said that, why present them what you totally think you don't know? And then that you really want to reach out to these contractors, or the, whatever they're called, the 12, I think you said, was there 12, Tricia, that you had mentioned? 12 on there, whatever number it was that you were going to get not to tell them what you need, want, every detail. Get them to do it for you, like, get
Well,
them like.
that's actually why we're doing it that way.
Yeah, I
That's
think
exactly the
I just
answer.
wanted to confirm, that was good.
Right.
I really like that idea. I'm applauding you, not.
Okay. With that, we have a motion to adjourn, and we have a second, and I think with that, we're done. All right, thank you.